Hello everyone, this video we're looking at the MMA UFC fights for Saturday. We have 11 fights on the card, some big tournaments on both sites, especially on DraftKings, so let's get into the video. Would appreciate if you guys would hit the like on the video and subscribe if you have not already before we get started. I will be touching on the Burns versus Woodley fight, which is obviously the main event, the fight that everybody wants to watch out of this card. At the end of the video, just because there's a lot of ways to go, and I think there's a lot of talking points about that fight. Some other marquee fights that I like a lot to target is the Green versus Rodriguez. Just you get Rodriguez, who was originally scheduled to face Kevin Holland, who's now out. This is the second time it's happened with Chikadze the last time. I think it's another spot where you just lock in Rodriguez against Green. Green definitely has some fighting experience, but as you see, Rodriguez is a minus 380 favorite. He has 3-inch height advantage, 15 pounds on him, reach advantage as well, every advantage for him. And this is a spot where he could definitely land some takedowns if he wants to with that weight advantage and the height advantage. So Rodriguez at 7,300 is just a guy that I would start my lineup with on DraftKings. Definitely a cash play. Other fights that I would definitely want to get a piece from is going to be Quarantillo versus Carlisle is probably one of my favorite fights to target, just because if you look at the statistics for both of these guys, you get a lot of punches thrown. Carlisle has thrown averaging 14.12 significant strikes per minute. Quarantillo is right behind him at 10.77. Quarantillo more accurate, 81%. This fight should be very, very high paced. Should be a lot of significant strikes thrown, which is great for fantasy purposes. Kind of reminds me of that Nate Landwehr fight, the last card. So Billy Quarantillo or Carlisle, whoever you think will win. I kind of do like Quarantillo. I think he will edge it out. I think it's going to be close though, but Quarantillo is a guy that I like to target. And then some other huge odds on the slate. You have Roosevelt Roberts, heavy favorite at minus 320, facing off against Brock Weaver. He looks like a strong play. Mackenzie Dern should crush Hannah Cypher's minus 440 favorite. That is the largest on the slate. She is expensive on DraftKings, but definitely a spot to look at. And then some of these closer fights that we have Jamal Hill versus Abreu. I do like Hill in this fight. I think he should be a heavier favorite than that. I think this could be over pretty quickly, just because he has a big advantages in terms of reach, height, strikes landed per minute, lots of power. So Jamal Hill, I think this could potentially be a first round knockout or a second round knockout, and he is going to be another core piece that I like a lot on DraftKings at 8,400. Those are the three fights that I have a lot of interest in besides the main event. I think the last fight that I would say is probably the Casey Kenny fight, just because he's a pretty big favorite. Kenny is looking very, very good. He's a bit shorter, but he has some just great fighting style and techniques. And this is a fight where he is pretty heavily favored, minus 270 on DraftKings. He's coming in at just 9,100. He looks like a solid option as well. And then on to the main event with Tyron Woodley and Gilbert Burns. I think this fight's going to be pretty close. If Gilbert Burns does not get knocked out in the first round, I think it's going to go at least 3 or 4 rounds. He's going to have to survive like the first couple minutes where Woodley might come out of the gates firing. Woodley has not fought in over a year. Burns has been amazing lately, 5 straight wins. Last time out, he knocked out Maia in like the first round. So he's rolling right now. Gilbert Burns is. He is looking. This could definitely change his career if he gets the win against Woodley. He has a lot to play for in this fight. He's motivated. He's never been in a main event before. So I think he has a ton of motivation. Nobody's really talking him up this week. It's a lot of Tyron Woodley. But Gilbert Burns is a pretty good fighter. He's very, very skilled on the ground. And both are pretty evenly matched. Woodley has a pretty decent reach advantage, and Woodley has the more knockout power. But Gilbert Burns, if he can survive that initial flurry, he can make the game longer. It's going to be tough to get Woodley on the ground, but if he manages to do that, we could see him just dominate on the ground. So I think on DraftKings, Burns at 7,400, Once again, we've seen underdogs win the last three fights, last three cards on UFC. I could definitely see it happening again, even on DraftKings. If Burns doesn't win, if this does go 3 or 4 rounds, he probably will still pay off the value with the significant strikes and just playing at a longer fight than than all the other fights. So those are the picks I like for DraftKings quite a bit. If you don't want to play Burns, you could play Woodley. You still have plenty of salary left, but these three I feel the most confident in. They are the three building blocks. I know for cash you might want to play Woodley, but those are the three that I feel great about on DraftKings. On FanDuel, we have pretty similar pricing. Woodley is pretty expensive at $22. Roberts is up to $21. Both are fine. I like Casey Kenny at $19, looking pretty solid as well. Gilbert Burns at $18, looking pretty good as well. But I'll start with Quarantillo again for the same reasons I mentioned on DraftKings. Just think that it's going to be a high tempo, fast paced fight. You're going to get a lot of scoring, a lot of punches thrown. And then I like Jamal Hill once again at his price point. Not a captain, but Hill at $17 is pretty cheap against Abreu. And then I'd say that I don't know why this keeps going into captain, but Hill looks fine. And then for cheap plays, Rodriguez is gonna be the guy that you would want at $13. Obviously, he's very cheap because he was expected to be a monster, heavy underdog in this fight. But now that Kevin Holland is out and he's facing a much different guy, a much weaker competition, $13 being one of the most heavily favored fighters on the slate, he's definitely a guy that you would want to start your lineup with on FanDuel as well. The payups that I like, probably Casey Kenny, Roberts. They both look pretty solid. And then in the value range, in the $15 range, I'd say that Shevchenko looks pretty good. Yeah, definitely Shevchenko. And then I like Augusto Saki against Ivanov at 6. I definitely probably would go with Saki at his price. And that's kind of it for FanDuel. So those are the picks that I like a lot. Hopefully, we get an exciting card on Saturday. Probably won't be playing Hill at captain, but I don't know how to get that out because it keeps going in there. But anyways, those are the picks that I feel pretty solid about. My breakdown. I am expecting Burns to win, or at least make it a fight and be a good value at 7,400 on DraftKings. The way he's been looked lately, he's been amazing. Really turned it up, and as long as he survives like the first couple minutes, I think this fight will be longer, and I think that can benefit Burns. So that's the breakdown for UFC for Saturday. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. You can drop a like if you enjoyed, and good luck tonight.